Drive time, back at it again. Alright, so the other day, 2 days ago, I did a video where I was talking about how this generation has a tendency to fight for the most asinine causes. And I was kind of being tongue-in-cheek where I said women will fight for the rights to murder their children. And again, I know that's a harsh way of saying it because a lot of people don't see it that way, but tomato, I suppose. So that was 2 days ago. Then yesterday, across my timeline, pops a video where a reporter is attacked during a street interview. Now, say reporter, technically we're all reporters if we want to be, but this is like a YouTube streamer or whatever that does like street interviews and everything. I believe she went to New York and was doing some street interviews, and I think in some comments I saw that it says she's not from there, she's from like Minnesota or something like that. I don't know. Basically in the comments they were trying to paint this narrative of she's a country girl and she went to the hood. So anyway, she goes to New York. She's interviewing this young lady. They're having a nice little soft banter back and forth. Starts off complimenting each other's clothes, talking about the whole deal. And the girl who she's interviewing is, very positive about the whole topic. She starts with asking her if she's familiar with Planned Parenthood. She said yes. She says, what do they do? She says they offer safe abortions. She says anything else? She's like, yeah, they offer contraceptives and stuff like that. Yada yada. So they move on to talking about, like, do we need it? She says yes. We absolutely need it. And then it starts to coast over into, well, you don't want to be tethered. You don't want to be tethered to this thing growing in you, and sometimes you need to just flush it out. I believe was one of the things she said. You need to just get rid of it. Nobody wants to be stuck having a baby by a man who didn't want you in the first place. But I'm only pointing that out to say, if you watch it, you can see it getting increasingly dark the more they speak. So the interviewer does one of the questions that many people will say to test the worldview and the logic behind this, in which the person says something to the effect of babies being unwanted or not being well taken care of or something like that. And she says, well, what about the babies in adoption homes? Should we just kill them too? To which point the girl says, why not? Why not? Might as well. And then it carries on shortly, and the interviewer references back to that comment, to which the girl being interviewed punches the interviewer in the face, and then happily walks off, and then later begins dancing in the street. There's a lot of directions I could go with this, but I just want to focus on the comments that I saw in one of the videos, because I watched the video, I've seen it in a couple of different platforms, because I saw a reviewer do it, and then I went and found another video of it, and I think it was the video from the main channel, or it might have been from a news outlet that covered it. These comments were in supporter of the attacker. And this is why I say that we live in a trash generation nowadays. And it isn't new. It didn't just start just like in the past couple years. Because this isn't the first time I've seen someone get attacked in public on camera and people advocate for the attacker. First time, oddly enough, Same topic, if I remember correctly. There was a girl outside of the protest talking about it, talking to a guy. Guy was hard pressed to say, well, no, people should be able to get an abortion. And he was using the assault statistic. And when she wouldn't concede to his argument, he just hauled off and kicked her in the face. On camera. And his defense was, no, I didn't kick her, I kicked her phone. And people were saying it was self-defense because she had been attacking him for 5 minutes. Because people now view words that you don't like as attacking them and harm and assault. And so with this, people were saying, well, she provoked her. She mischaracterized her statement. She was being disingenuous. She was smearing her character. She was, oh, you don't get to go to the hood and just antagonize people. You can't just go around poking fun at people. Like, all these things, they had hundreds of excuses for why a person in a conversation of words can turn around and punch another person in the face. And here's the main reason why I think this is insane. Is the majority of the people who hold this view are the same group of people who have the most insufferable words. Like the people who believe in their heart of hearts the most that it's okay to violently aggress on a person with physical force because you don't like what they said are the people who say the most abhorrent things on a daily basis. I don't think these people understand how many times they would get beat up in a day if everyone operated under their worldview. Like, I guarantee you, with a 90% assurance, that same woman says annoying things every 3 hours of the day. At work, at home, at play, whatever she does in life. I am 90% confident, and that's me trying my best to give her the benefit of the doubt. And even then, I can barely squeeze out 10% of doubt. I bet you all day long, throughout the day, there's not a 3-hour time span where she doesn't say something annoying to where somebody else is like, I should punch you in the face. But they don't. Because laws and because decency and because we understand, those of us that are mature adults understand the whole sticks and stones concept that was taught to many people back in the 80s and prior. But nowadays, people just feel like, I didn't like it. I should be able to hit you now. But here's the real reason behind this. And this is something that my brother and I used to point to and pull out of people a lot when we were younger. The reality is, people have a primal instinct of when they're backed into an intellectual corner, they lash out in anger. And you'll see this quite often. The most common example of this is ad hominem attacks. So this is where if you're watching somebody in a conversation or a debate or something, and then instead of addressing the point at hand, they start to make personal insults to the person they're debating. It's their internal anger that makes them do this because they don't have an intellectual base to combat the argument. It just happened to me yesterday. I did a video and somebody decided to comment, and then they tried to slide a slight little insult at the end of the comment that they made. And it's like, I get it, because the saying that me and my brother used to have when we were younger was, I wouldn't want to argue me either, especially if I was as ill-equipped as you are. Another one is you'll get people to try to silence. Our joke would always be, you know you lost the argument when you tell the opposition to shut up. Because it's true. If you can handle your own in a back and forth, you never need the other side to shut up, because you can just destroy what they're saying either by refuting their logic or having a better position. But it takes intellect to do either one. And when you have somebody who lacks intellect, they don't have anything else but aggression. That's what happens. It's basically their internal frustration that they are losing. So then they become violent. Sometimes it's just verbally aggressive with insults and stuff like that. And then sometimes it's just outright physical violence. So I would tell you the same woman from the same video probably argues a lot with men, because she can't just haul off and hit a guy. She might, but most people understand a woman can't just haul off and hit a man, because they don't know if that man will react violently or not. And they generally understand that on a base scale, men are stronger. So aggressing on one through violence by instinct could mean you get hurt. Doesn't mean that all men will do it, but you don't know which ones will or won't, so it's not a good risk to take. But because this was another woman who was smaller, why not? And you could tell that this interview was out of place. She was wearing this beautiful, like, little light blue sundress looking thing in downtown New York. I'm from Detroit. New York is not a lot different from Detroit or Chicago in that we recognize when somebody is out of place. You just know. So when you see a woman in a sundress who looks like she is very fair skinned with light brown curly hair, you kind of know you're not from the hood, to put it simply. And so she felt like it was going to be an easy one, and to her credit it was. So she punched her in the face. It's one of those situations where you say they picked the right one. She did it on somebody she could get away with it with. Because she would have been able to tell if it was the type of woman that would have just came back and like walked down the street and handled business. So I say that to say, like, one, people understand what levels of aggression they can go to, but two, back to the original point, it comes from a position of frustration at the fact that they just lack the intelligence. And I say it again, it's crazy to me that people think that it's okay to do that. But it just shows me that the majority of the people in those comments are just simply unintelligent people. And they recognize the frustration that girl had because they felt it. They've been in a situation where they tried to have an intellectual discussion with somebody in which they were clearly outmatched, and their frustration made them want to fight about it. Because I'm gonna close with a joke from Chris Rock. I'm not gonna tell the joke because I can't remember the whole thing, but he makes a joke in one of his comedy specials where he talks about how people will go to being able to fight as their last ditch effort to have something over the person. And so he's talking about a person being looked at, if I remember correctly, they're being looked at as like a sellout, a Aquatom or whatever, because they went to college and got a degree They left the hood, they went to college and got a degree. And so he says they call you the smarty art. The smarty art ninja. Oh, you the smarty art ninja. You the smarty art ninja. You think you know everything. Because it's basically, you think you better than me because you're smart. When in reality, that person internally feels like people who are smarter than them are better than them. So they bounce their internal insecurity off of you back onto them and accuse you of having that position when you really don't. Or you might, whatever. And so then he goes, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Can you whoop my ass? Because when you have a person who's very low IQ, they know they can't beat you with words. They know they can't outmatch you with intellect. So they have to go to the only thing that they have where they feel they hold an advantage, which is violence. And that's what we're at now. Where people are so dumb that they think that there's nothing wrong with punching somebody in the face out in public because they said something you didn't like. All the while forgetting that these same people say stuff that people don't like on a daily basis repeatedly. I'm gonna leave it at that.